course, things have changed heavily in the days of more online work and stay-at-home stuff, but we're seeing that starting to compress a bit, and people are being called back to the office. And that's certainly going to change things over the next few years. We're going to see a little bit more transaction stuff happening because people aren't able to work remotely as much as they were in the pandemic and the days right after the pandemic, where everybody was adjusting to it. And then, we've also got to deal with things here in LA, like the massive loss of inventory that's making our already terrible housing shortage worse, because we already had the problems of the lack of houses to support the number of people that want to live here, but we just lost 10,000 housing units or more, 13,000. So that's a lot of inventory that just went out of the market. So it's going to make it even more challenging over the next few years. It's going to make it challenging on a lot of levels, because it's not just about the homes that were lost. It's about the need for the construction crews, the need for lumber, the need for supplies, and all the rest of it that are need to be able to build those houses to replace the ones that were lost. Well, that's taking all that labor pool and supply chain stuff out of the market as well. So it's going to be harder and harder to do development and building and things. So LA is going to be challenged for the next few years, which is, of course, one of the reasons why, if you are considering doing a transaction in the greater LA region, and when I say that, I include Orange County and I include Ventura County, because the areas do, bleed over to a certain extent. I would do it now. I would do it this year, because we don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of uncertainty in the marketplace, and whenever that's the situation, it makes it harder to plan and to think about what is the strategic move. Well, the strategic move to me right now is do what works for you in the moment. If you want to stay put, but if you want to move, and you're thinking more seriously about it, this is the time to do it, because it could get worse. I mean, we may have such a shortage of housing, especially if interest rates finally come down a little bit. Well, there's all these people who've been sitting on the sidelines trying to be able to afford to buy something. They're probably going to get priced back out of it again, because we'll see another round of price wars or bidding wars as the monthly affordability comes back because of the interest rates going. Because you always say, if you're not buying a house, for most people, you're buying a payment if you're doing a loan. So we're on the edge of that possibly happening if they can get interest rates back down. But if they don't come down, we're still going to be in that same shortage, because unless interest rates come down, people who already own houses aren't going to sell them. And as long as they are not adding to the inventory because they've got too good of an interest rate that they don't want to sell their home, we're not getting those houses flowing into the marketplace. And that's making the housing shortages worse. One of these continuing problems. It's not going to change until we can figure out a way to build more housing, and that's not likely to happen in the short term. So if you're thinking about doing something, this is the time to do it before anything gets crazy. You'll deal with the uncertainty that'll be coming up later. Get out of push that aside and just buy or sell if that's what you want to do. In the current times, you've got a set amount of money that a house will cost. You have a set amount of money that is going to go into a payment, whatever that interest rate turns out to be at the time. Well, if you buy within the market, if the interest rates come down later on, you can refinance. If you buy now, interest rates go even higher, you're going to be glad you had the current rate. And if the prices happen to go up, you'll be glad that you bought before they did. And if they go down, that'll be short term. This is always a short term issue when prices go down. It is one of those things where sometimes, in 2008 prices dropped because the economy was kind of exploding, and but that was very much driven at that point by the housing market and everything that we're dealing with now. A lot of people's individual inflation is driven by housing, but the actual inflationary things are not housing specifically related that much. So we're not going to have another 2008, but we can still have a time when, if everything else is blowing up, you'll start to see some contraction in prices. If that happens, it'll come back, because houses always come back, because housing works as a hedge against inflation, because it floats with the market. You don't have to worry that if your stocks go down, will the company survive? Well, houses will survive, barring mass fires. That's what insurance is for. So these are all things just to keep into consideration as you're thinking about what your next move is with housing. But my main thought is, if you're thinking of buying or selling right now is the time to do it then, because we just don't know what's going to happen in the future. But you always know exactly what it is within the moment. So just do it within the moment and see how everything works out. It'll be fine. Not fine, but predictable.